Clemson is a playoff imposter. You know it. I hate to admit it. I know it. Paul Finebaum knows it. A lot of the talking heads at ESPN, they're alluding to it. They may say Clemson is back, but when the rubber hits the road, we know who not only they are pulling for because they're invested in, we also know what they really think. So, is Clemson a playoff imposter? I'm going to dive in that in just a second. Welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here. It is October the 17th, about 12:35, northeastern wind at 7 miles per hour. Bring a light jacket. I feel like an airline pilot, except I would be like... Anyway, if you like college football, I hope you will subscribe to this channel because, yes, I talk about Clemson football, but I also talk about other football teams as well. Yesterday, I talked about the matchup between Georgia and Texas, as well as Alabama and Tennessee. So go check out those videos and pass it along to their fan base. I do appreciate it. Now, I'm glad that Clemson is winning. I am. I really am. I know some of you are like, they can't make you happy. No, I'm glad that they're winning. And for the most part, every game has been a dominant win. Every game that you go into Appalachian State, there was not one moment that the Mountaineers from Boone thought they could beat the Clemson Tigers. Same with NC State. Now, that was a big shock for me. I know everybody's talking about Florida State, but I'm really shocked at how bad NC State really is. Of course, Florida State has outdone themselves by their own admission. Stanford, Wake Forest. But when I step back and I look at the college football playoff terrain, you like that terrain? It just kind of went in my head. Maybe I need some medicine or something. But when I look at the college football terrain, I think about this weekend, Alabama will play Tennessee. I know Tennessee and Alabama's struggled here and there, but still they're in the playoff picture. Alabama's number 7 right now. Tennessee's number 11. So if the playoff were played today, I know there's the word if, but if the playoff was played today, guess what? They'd be in. This weekend, the biggest game in college football, Georgia at Texas, number 5 versus number 1. When you look at those games, you look at the way they go down, the viewership that they draw in because everybody wants to watch these historic powers play one another. And considering that in the recent past, they've done some really good things, especially Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee's getting better, Texas finally starting to live up to the hype. Then you look at Oregon and Ohio State last week. You're like, Brian, why are you rambling, man? Where does Clemson have that type of win? They can't help that the ACC is bad. I know Miami is, number 6 in the AP Top 25 this week. I know SMU is in the top 25. But I'm sorry. Clemson's not playing a Texas, an Alabama, an Oregon. But they did play a Georgia. And I know right now you can tune into ESPN and you know what they're going to tell you? They're going to tell you that Clemson is back. You can go over to the ACC network /PBS channel /CW. They have reruns of Gossip Girl in between games. It's entertaining if that's your thing. XOXO. Don't ask me how I know that. If you know, you know. They'll talk about the power of Clemson and the power of Miami. But let me tell you what's going to happen. And it happens every year. And some of y'all, you're shocked every year. You never learn from the past. You never learn from the past. They're going to start doing head-to-head matchups. Clemson versus Texas. Whew. That doesn't sound fun. Clemson versus Alabama. Oh, Alabama doesn't have the magic midget on the sidelines. What about Oregon? Ah, man, other than those loud jerseys they get from Nike, they're playing that Pacific Northwest football. They beat Ohio State, right? All of a sudden, the script's going to flip. Every analyst who's telling you Clemson is back, when they start going head-to-head with Texas and Bama and Oregon, and especially Georgia, because we've already seen that play out. Heck, they don't even want to say that Clemson will beat Miami. The vast majority of them is still just wetting their drawers over Miami. And who has Miami played again? Yes, I know Cam Ward, Restrepo, that Ruben Bain guy, and Martinez, the transfer out of Oregon State. There's talent there. By the way, Miami's always had talent. Have you ever looked where they're located in relation to high school recruiting? I mean, their coach can have an unexpected bowel movement while he's driving down the road and go, oh, no, I need to pull in there and take a dump. And he goes into the McDonald's and the guy serving him behind the counter, it points him to the restroom. He's a 3-star recruit. There's so many top recruits around there, it's ridiculous. Of course they have the talent. They just haven't had the coaching. They've had the ego, but they haven't had the results. That same Miami team, a lot of analysts, when you put Clemson head-to-head with them, will not say that Clemson will beat Miami. They are more likely to say that Miami, an untested team, a team that's almost been beat by teams that are not Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama. Oh, they're more than happy to say, well, we believe Miami would beat Clemson. Clemson's going to be good, but we believe Miami would beat them. So what does that tell you? They believe that Clemson's a playoff imposter. By the way, notice on the thumbnail, I didn't waste my time putting Penn State up there, because I personally believe they are a playoff imposter. I believe in Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, even Alabama at this stage. I almost put Texas A&M in there, even though they're 14th, because I think they're getting a lot better. But I held off. But I definitely didn't put Penn State in there. You know why? Because I believe they're a playoff imposter. I did put Miami there because everybody's gaga for Miami, whatever that means. So what is the meaning of this video? Clemson has to use games like this Virginia game to get better at every level so they do not prove the critics right. This game against Virginia is extremely important. Not only to go out there and beat a bad team bad, they're a 21-point favorite over Virginia, somewhere around there. I haven't looked at the line this morning. But they are a major favorite over Virginia, a team that's 4-2. Coming to Death Valley, I think their defense being ranked number 91 in the country for total defense probably has a little something to do with that. But this is an important game for Clemson, not just to win right before they have their second bye of the season, before they go out and they play, VT next, right off the top of my head? No, this is an important time for Clemson to fix things on the offensive side of the football, in the secondary. The wide receivers and the quarterback get on the same page, almost to the point that when one thinks, the other one knows what they're thinking. I could have said that better, I know. My 12:45 cup of coffee. I don't know why I'm jittery. But my point here's my point. Is Clemson a playoff imposter? The only way to shed that loss from Georgia, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, is to go out and beat Georgia in the playoff, to beat Alabama in the playoff, to beat Ohio State in the playoff. And if you lose close. But even then, people would say that Clemson's a playoff imposter. If Clemson were given the graces that the University of Miami has been given, a team that has not won a national championship in 23 years, but Clemson, listen to me, they've won 2 national championships in the past 8 seasons. And yes, I criticize them and I talk about this, that, and the other because I actually love them. I'm one of those people that believes that if you love somebody or if you care about something, you actually tell them the truth instead of lying to them. Lying is deceiving. Why would you deceive someone or something that you care about? Clemson has to get better. Even in really, for me, the main concern I have is coaching. Clemson has to get better at coaching. Offensively, I've talked about it so much until I've turned blue in the face, regained my color, and then went back to looking like a Smurf. I get it. But at this point, Clemson, I quote Dabo Swinney 2 weeks ago saying, "We ain't done nothing. We ain't done anything." It was either anything or nothing. I can't remember. I was excited to hear him say that. It sounded like the old Dabo Swinney. You know, the one that won a lot? I liked that guy. He had the taste of blood in his mouth like a ravenous animal who was ready for more. He was going after anything and everything. If you opposed him, he brought his team in. He beat the color out of your jersey. He desecrated the field that you were on with your own body, sweat, and fluids, and then he walked off with the win. That's the Dabo Swinney that won 2 national championships and had 6 consecutive playoffs. I liked hearing from that guy. It was a winner. And it wasn't all about the win. The wins and losses was a result of the mindset. That's what I like. I agree with Coach Swinney. We ain't done nothing. Yes, we've beat bad teams bad. We have to. But, folks, we have to beat a Texas. We have to beat an Alabama, an Oregon, an Ohio State. If every time you play an actually a really good team, Notre Dame last year, I'm glad Clemson beat Notre Dame last year. Notre Dame's not a really good football team. I'm sorry. They're not. Just set your sundial. Notre Dame's going to blow it again this season. Why? Because they don't have the leadership. I think it's too much too soon for Marcus Freeman. The guy went from being a highly sought-after defensive coordinator. In the blink of an eye, he's the head coach of a historic program that hasn't won a national championship since L.A. Law was a top TV show on NBC. Some of you are like, L.A. Law, what is that? Exactly. Bob Hope was still doing Christmas specials. It's that long ago. They were not a good football team, and they proved it. Clemson has to beat a really good football team to shed not only the Georgia game this year, but to shed the reputation that they have themselves built over the past 4 years. And you say, well, Brian, 4 years ago is when they played and got their head ripped off in the opening round of the playoff by Ohio State. The first win the Bucknuts got against us ever. I'm going to go to the comments section here. John Thomas. Good to see you, John Thomas. Supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Look at that. You see that symbol beside John Thomas' name. That means he supports on a monthly basis, $3 or $5 per month. And if you want to support the channel as well, there's a join button below the video. If you don't see it, it's probably because you're on an iPhone. John Thomas, it's always great to hear from you. You take care of yourself, my friend. Joey Cogdale, how's Brian this afternoon? This week's game scares me to death. On a roll and primed for a speed bump. I hope they hold on to win this week. Thank you, Joey Cogdale. Yes, they need to be focused on improvement and absolutely obliterating their competition. Thank you for supporting the channel as well. I see that symbol there. I appreciate it. Go through here. John Thomas just nominated me for president, telling the truth. Hey, John Thomas, we'll go for it, man. Hey, I feel good again. I feel good running for president. Michael Creighton, finger red number 1. May there, Brian. Look at that. Look, Noah Denton, what's up? Family will be rooting on Tigers for Folly Beach Man Cave at noon Saturday. Light 'em up, Cade. Folly Beach, my wife and I got married there. We did. We got married there, and then we took a trip. We've been there twice this year. I love Folly Beach. I love that area. I hate to tell you that I'm jealous of you. I mean that in a good Christian way. Being battle-tested goes a long way when you get to the end of the season. That's exactly right. Mike Madden loves bringing up the loss. Westlake Dad, Miami 3-star recruits at McDonald's. You're right. Westlake Dad, email me. BobbyDurkins@gmail.com. Bobby Durkins, DIRKENS, gmail.com. I sent you a message the other day. I want to talk to you. You know a lot about Cade, and I'd love to talk to you. Let me see. We've already shed that game against Georgia. It's way gone in the past. Clemson 24-26. I like your optimism. Nothing says that you've officially got past it until you beat them. Beat a good football team. Drop some likes, Matthew. Thank you so much. Let me see. If Clemson is an imposter, they're all imposters. It's great to see. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's button this thing up, send it on its way. How does Clemson get past the imposter? I just said it. The imposter syndrome. The only way that I know y'all are drunk on the fandom right now, but I'm gonna need you to kind of sober up. Drink you some coffee right here. And chill. Chill for a moment. Texas is a better football team than Clemson. Period. Alabama, I think Clemson could beat, but Alabama could turn around and beat them. Georgia, the Georgia team that played Kentucky and played Mississippi State, I believe Clemson could beat them. The Georgia in the first half of Alabama game, I believe that Clemson could beat them. Here's the problem, folks. Here's the problem. I know you don't like it when Clemson had their one shot at Georgia and had all offseason for months to focus on one game. Not App State, not NC State, not Florida State, not all the states, not doo-doo State. They failed, and they failed big time. And then they offered us a good old serving of excuses. And a lot of you has regurgitated. You've drawn the nutrients in your body, and then you've pooped out the waste. Well, I'm sorry, I don't eat that diet. I spit it out and I go, that's a lie. You are smarter than that, and I'm smarter than that. If you want to shed the imposter syndrome, you have to beat those teams. And if you lose, it has to be a close game. It can't be a 31 loss where you're trying to come up with every excuse in the book. You're like a 13-year-old getting caught with alcohol and going, oh, how'd this beer end up in my hand? Lord, I was reading the Bible over here, and I was just thinking about the goodness of God, and suddenly I looked down about the time you walked in and noticed this PBR sitting in my hands. How did that happen? Oh, Lord, I wouldn't do that. And then lightning starts popping off in the background because the kid's lying. The kid's lying. The only way a Clemson can get past this is they can't lose by 31 points to Georgia. LeBron is 6-0 at halftime. 4 quarters of football, folks. I'm sorry. And the only way there's no 4 quarters of football, there's 2 scenarios. Either A, the game is forfeited, or B, you go into overtime. The last image anyone has in their head of Clemson playing a good football team, a 31-point blowout loss. Clemson has to revenge that. But how do they do it? They have to get better coaching. They have to get better at their schemes. They cannot allow themselves to go back into their shell when they play a really good football team and then start talking about, well, Cade wasn't ready. Second full season with the same coordinator. Really? He's not ready? Offensive line's getting better. He's not ready? Well, Brian, that hasn't been the case yet because we've been playing the Red Hat ladies, the blind kids of Alabama. The Nomads of Nebraska. I just came up with that one. It's actually kind of cool, if I may say so myself. Great. You beat the crap out of them. But that's the way you shed this. By getting better at every position, including coaching, and you leave the excuses in a deep trench somewhere that you've dug and then buried it really deep on top of that and poured some concrete over it to make sure you never use it again. That's how you do it. Because I put Paul Finebaum's picture on this thumbnail for a reason. He embodies the media looking at Clemson, even when Clemson was winning national championships, going, I just don't buy it. And right now, it's easy to see his face smirking like he is on this thumbnail, looking at Clemson, just knowing that the last time they played someone with a pulse, they got emasculated on live national television. That's how you shed the imposter syndrome. You come out, and the next time you play an Oregon, a Georgia, an Alabama, a Texas, an Ohio State, you win it, or worst case scenario, you lose it by a few points. Closing thought. Do I think Clemson is getting better? Yes, I do. I do think they're getting better. Normally, two things happens to a team throughout a season. I say two. It could be more than that, but just to keep it simple, you either get better or you get worse. Whether the injury bug bites you and you just can't form any continuity, you got a bunch of inexperienced guys out there. Or what happened to Florida State. You were supposed to be a top 10 football team, a playoff contending team. You're following up a season that had an incredible regular season and conference championship. But you got blown out in your bowl game, so that's the last thought everybody has of you. But okay. We have our reasons for that. And then you get into the season and you lose overseas on a walk-off field goal to a team that's not bad, that's getting better, but the wheels start coming off. And so you either get better or that type of stuff happens. I believe Clemson is getting better. I believe the offensive line is getting better. Here is the plus for us Clemson fans, and I'm going to offer you this positive, and a lot of people are going to be like, hey, offering a positive, I'm shocked. I'm not all negative. I'm just sitting here telling you the truth. And I had someone say the other day, I'm going to pause there, and I want to address this publicly. It said, even when you talk about the positive things, you sound like you're mad. Sir, I'm just going to say this. I don't mean to be offensive to anybody, but men are too soft these days. Men really are. We don't need to be jerks to one another, but I'm just telling you, men are too soft. Men are too soft. We have been affected by our HR departments and affected by TV shows that has told men for many, many years, if you'll just give women what they want, if you'll basically become a woman, but you have balls, you'll be better off. And even women don't really want that. So I'm sorry. I'm intense. If you're passionate about something, you're going to get intense. Sometimes you go too far and you have to back it off. But I'm sorry. I'm not here to just be a jerk, but I'm not going to sit here and just be like a little girl. Hey, I love my Tigers. I'm not doing that, dude. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. This is a man's game where they give you a football helmet so you don't crack your skull. They give you pads so you don't get easily hurt. This is a game where people are lifting weights non-stop, moving at rates of speed that normal human beings can't move. Freak athletes. Yes, you're going to be passionate about it. But I'm going to tell you the truth. If Clemson uses this poor schedule that they can't help that the ACC is trash, to get better, it's possible. And I think they can. And I hope they are utilizing this poor schedule and not having to play Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, Texas, etc., week in and week out. Like Oklahoma or Tennessee or Georgia or Florida. Florida's not a good football team. Their schedule is horrendous Clemson's not having to play that schedule. Use it to your advantage to actually get better. If they do that, they will shed the playoff imposter syndrome. They will. But if they just go through these games, not really learning a lot, they get better just by repetition, but they're not significantly getting better, they will get TCU'd in the playoff, and there will be little to no recovery from that. You can take that to the bank. You can go back to the moment I said at 1 o'clock on October the 17th. It was a Thursday. Brian said that, and he warned us about it. You can take that to the flipping bank. Go to the comment section. I'm getting out of here. Clemson needs to work towards another UGA rematch in the playoffs. I agree with you, Huffer Billy Paul. That should be the desire in Clemson's heart. Hey, we lost by what to them? We're one of the most talented teams in the country. And we lost by that much to them? That's not okay. Like, they need to take it personal. Coaches need to take it personal. I'm paid this much money to lose by 31 points? When a lot of you out there, you make $50,000, $60,000 a year, and if you did anything remotely like that, you would have lost your job, and there would be no buyout for you. Think of it that way. It'll give you a little more perception. Watching this in a Little John porta potty. I love it. That is awesome. That is awesome. Yep, Liston, you're 100% right. It's almost Saturday. Football season goes so fast. Wesco and Moore, if they stay healthy, will be much better by the time we get to a championship playoff game. Yep. Kevin, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Daddy-O, Clemson's 5 wins were against the 85th, 90th, 102nd, 114th, and 128th ranked defense. You're right. These are terrible. Facts all season. Yep. Let me see. Go through here. Any more comments? I probably overlooked some. If you are telling truth, you're just telling the truth. I'm glad if you sound mad. Thank you, Tommy Williams. Tommy Williams ain't playing. He's like, Rad Brad from Asheville as well. Got Tristan watching from Asheville, hoping that our team is as thirsty as my city. Yes, Tristan. And Tristan, to you and Rad Brad and anyone, I'm only about an hour from Asheville. I'm here in the upstate of South Carolina. I'm only about an hour from Asheville. And I've been meaning to drive up and see the devastation. Not for amusement purposes, but to, Western North Carolina is a beautiful area, and it just bothers me. It really, really bothers me. So my prayers, my actual prayers, not saying something that just feels good, some type of great eagle spirit. No, I'm actually been praying for asking God to help everyone up there, and for people just to decide to do the right thing, whether government or whatever your thoughts are on that decides to help or not. So anyway, my thoughts and prayers truly are with you. Folks, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Is Clemson a playoff imposter? How do they get past being a playoff imposter? Are you okay? Are you okay if Clemson makes it to the playoff, but they lose by 20 points? Well, you can't win them all. Let me know. Hope you'll subscribe. The channel's blowing up. Thank you so much to everyone who's been subscribing. Hey, listen, back in 2012, you could start 2010, somewhere in there, you could start a YouTube channel and have 50,000 subscribers like that. Listen, there's I just read a comment, my mind went blank. The truth is, it's not that easy anymore. It's not. It's really overly saturated. There's some really good YouTubers on here. So that I have over 5,200 subscribers, and 1,400 of them came in the past, 2 months, is a big deal to me. So I appreciate every one of you. I hope you'll subscribe. Folks, you take care of yourself, and as always, go Tigers.